I know, as if there was not every list that has been done already, I've got to go and find another one. Hello guys, welcome, or if you've already seen my channel before, welcome back. I am the Philadelphia Whovian, and with this video, we're going to be doing a ranking of every single opening episode or opening story of Doctor Who from 1963, Unearthly Child. We're starting there, and we're doing every single opening story or opening episode when it came to a season opener of Doctor Who. Now, when it comes to this, I'm not gonna lie, if someone else has already done a list about this, sorry dude, I had no idea. But I was like, wait a minute, I don't recall seeing anyone just ranking every single season opener. Sorry if I missed yours. If you did already do it, my bad. There are a lot of Doctor Who videos out there. So disclaimer first, because there are so many episodes, I'm going to be reading them off of my, yes, marble composition notebook, because I'm a loser that way. I wrote them down in a marble composition book. I'm going to read them to you guys, just to make it easier for me, because that's just too many episodes for me to memorize. I can't do it. Guys, I can't do it. I can't do it. Yes. And also, another disclaimer. Two ones that are not going to be on this list is one, Galaxy 4, because I've never seen that episode. It's from the first Doctor's era. The reason I've never saw it is because it's completely missing. I can't rank a story I have never seen. I just can't. The next one that's not going to be on this list is from Series 11, The Woman That Fell to Earth. The reason why it's not going to be on this list is because, one, I've only seen it once. And for me, that's just not enough. I gotta see things over and over again. So, I know you're thinking, well, just go and watch that one many times. To be honest with you, I'm not that motivated right now. I'll be honest, I'm not that motivated. And with The Woman Who Fell to Earth, I'm also in a very jaded place. And I admit that I'm in a jaded place. I'm in a jaded place because with The Woman Who Fell to Earth, I'm having a hard time judging it because from the very beginning, Chibnall got something very wrong. Now, when it comes to the story of The Woman Who Fell to Earth, what I remember is it was actually pretty, compared to the other episodes I saw of Series 11, it was the least bad. It actually has some really good elements to it. It just simply was not the best opening episode, but it wasn't bad either. But the problem is something is scarring it for me is the very beginning with the Doctor actually falling to Earth. From what I recall, she fell at a very great height and then slammed into a train, and she gets up and she's completely fine. Now, I know that she's just regenerated, and since the Tom Baker era, we've got this idea of when the Doctor regenerates, their bodies can be very tough. Like when he hit the brick and he broke the brick in half. But very soon after generation, that begins to die down and your strength returns to normal. Then we have with the 10th Doctor, that scene. And again, I kind of don't defend the 10th Doctor's first story with, it's not his first actual appearance when it comes to the Christmas invasion, but with that one, his hand did get cut off and then it did grow back. But with this one, it's hard for me to really determine when she fell from that great height, through space, all of this, then through the Earth's atmosphere, and then lands in a train, was her regeneration energy strong enough to protect her from all that, from such a greater distance and height than when the 4th Doctor died in his very last episode, where the 4th Doctor in Legopolis, he falls to his death from a great height and that he dies because of how he falls. Now again, I know you can make the excuse of regeneration energy keeping her and saving her and protecting her throughout all this, but there's at this point, no information saying that regeneration energy can protect you from, not freezing to death in space, not dying of suffocation, and also surviving, entering an Earth's atmosphere or planet's atmosphere, and then landing in a train from that velocity and be perfectly fine. I don't know of that ever happening, and it's me making excuses that if I'm going to look past that, it's me making an excuse to an excuse I don't know I have the right to give. Because all of that she went through, again, correct me if I'm wrong if I'm remembering it incorrectly. It's just that, because that's why, another reason I can't rank it, by seeing it once, sometimes we don't always remember things correctly when it goes to doing a ranking of things. But I remember, I'm thinking in the very beginning, I'm like, you should be dead. And again, if we're making the excuse of, well, generation energy, can do this to somebody, can protect a Time Lord or Time Lady to that extent. I'm like, we're making the rules up in that way a little too. We're not explaining it as well as it could have been explained that Time Lord energy can do that when regeneration occurs. It wasn't explained well enough. And if I have to make excuses for your opening episode to strain the credibility of the world that's been set up already because you did not explain it well enough, I don't know where to rank it just yet. And not to mention, it shows how Chris Chibnall likes a lot of the writers right now. They do science, but not really. Because it's like, wait a minute, even with her regeneration energy, she's entering an atmosphere, that thing that literally burns ships. And when NASA or any space station has to deal with space travel, they have to worry about when it comes to a ship returning back to the planet Earth, entering the Earth's atmosphere and burning up in the Earth's atmosphere. Hence why, when it comes to satellites, when they begin to decay, their rate of velocity when they decay and they come back to Earth, even if they don't land in the ocean, like they're all programmed to usually land in water, even if that does not happen, they usually oftentimes also have the ability to burn up in the atmosphere, because when they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, literally the velocity of their re-entrance as well as the friction that happens with entering an atmosphere again literally destroys and burns things. So for me to see the Doctor just completely enter an atmosphere without a spacesuit on and be completely fine, it's like, this is straining the scientific knowledge I've already learned and accumulated, which means, Chris Chibnall, you did not bother to look this up yourself. It's just too much for me. I'm not ready to decide where the woman who fell to Earth is. So now you know my reasons for why I'm still having a hard time ranking the woman that fell to Earth, or the woman who fell to Earth. So now we're going to go just right down to number 35. So again, not ranking Galaxy 4 or women who fell to Earth, because just don't know where to put one, and the other one, I've never seen it because it does not exist. Number 35. This is going to be a scandalous opening one, but because I know some people do love this story, but it's just my least favorite, and that is New Earth. The first story of the second series of New Who. And I'm not counting Christmas specials as openers. I'm going to look at that's just a Christmas special. The first episode is the one that comes after the Christmas special. New Earth. Okay, New Earth, I see the appeal to it. It has a nice, beautiful, pristine look to it. Has a cool idea. But there's just something about New Earth that really irks me. The comedy, it can be funny at times, but other times it just, again, it really irks them. And the Rose and the 10th Doctor dynamic, it's enjoyable to watch sometimes, but other times I'm getting a little bit annoyed watching it. But also, I think the main thing that really hits me home, that I'm not crazy about this, is Cassandra. I'm just not crazy about Cassandra. Like, I don't hate Rose or the 10th Doctor in this. They're just there, and I see why they're fun. They are fun, but I'm not crazy about Cassandra. And also, this story reminds me, it's like a modern and a child-friendly version of a story I really don't like, and that is from the 6th Doctor's era, Mind Warp. The plot line to Mind Warp is very similar to the plot line to New Earth. It actually is, with the idea of the companion getting captured and getting possessed by the creature who needs to be moisturized to stay hydrated. The way Syl, the worm character, needs to get moisturized in Vengeance on Varos and Mind Warp, and then same way that Cassandra needed to be moisturized when she was this skin, and then having the companion get captured, and the Doctor just is off doing something else somewhere else, and she does get like taken over by this entity. It just reminds me of, again, a child-friendly version of Mind Warp. And I am not crazy about Mind Warp. I don't really like Mind Warp at all very much. So, because it reminds me of something I don't like very well, it's always going to have a nasty feel to me. Even though, again, I see why people love that. I see why that's a great opener for you. It just was not to me. That's all where it goes. Now, number 34. Oh, God, this story. Number 34. From the 1st Doctor's 2nd season, Planet of Giants. This one ranked really low because this had so much potential. This should have been so much better than what it was. I was so interested in watching it because of the concept. I thought it was very cool. Only for it to be a snooze fest and be quite dull and boring. And to me, it's like, oh my god, why did you have to do this? Why? This could have been so good, but it's just them wandering around things that are very big for them. I'm like, once I get past that factor, it loses its wow factor. It does. So for me, this is ranking very low just because of all the potential and the hype that I felt like it was around it, because I thought it was going to be such a great thing, and it just proved not to be. So I think it's more this low because of the disappointment of it. That's what I think it is. Now we have as number 33, though this is going to be scandalous because, well, actually, no, it's not. Who am I kidding? Number 33 is not going to be. It's number 33 is Warriors Deep from the Fifth Doctor's last season. Okay, Warriors Deep, this was hard for me because this is the very first story I saw of Classic Who, and I really, really enjoyed it because it just got me into this, atmospheric, it really got me into this world. But here's the thing, as time has grown, and even though I do enjoy the plot line, I really do actually enjoy the overall plot, the idea of the Sea Devils and Silurians taking over this base where there are two rival factions, and there's also sabotage, infiltration of one threat into the other threat, and they have to keep the Sea Devils and Silurians from destroying the planet, while also the idea of, again, suppressing this threat that has infiltrated their base. It's all really cool, underwater stuff, and I'm really interested, and I really enjoy that very much. But it doesn't stop the fact that, objectively speaking, the Sea Devils and Silurians were not done justice in this. The Merca is terrible. Like, they really were. Like, Sea Devils and Silurians, I see why this hurt people, to see the Sea Devils and Silurians put in this position, because they're not nearly as cool as they once were. You have these great characters, or great villains, if you want to call them villains, and to be not this, a disservice was done to them. That's all we can say. I can see why that would hurt over time. And then there's that scene where the Merca, where the doctor, she tries to do this karate move and kick the Merca, and I'm like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? So that's where it is, but I don't think it surprises anybody. Oh, this next one's going to be scandalous, though. Number 32, we've got from the very first season of New Who, Rose. Rose is just a story. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. Go watch my 9th Doctor Season 1 story if you want to. Rose is that story. I see why people love it, because it's what got you into Doctor Who. But there are just so many things about it I'm not crazy about. One, the main problem is it's just amazing how unspecial it actually is in the grand scheme of Doctor Who. This is Russell T Davies taking a story that already existed and just rehashing it, revamping it, and giving it to you again, knowing it's going to work, and not taking any risk to give you something creative from the very beginning. And that, to me, is Russell T Davies' era in a T. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just simply that it's going to always be overrated to me, because it's like, that's what Rose is literally the spirit of the side of New Who when it comes to the RTD era I'm not crazy about, where it's like, I'm going to take the same plot line that happened to it in another story, rework it, but it's not going to be as good as the thing I reworked, and then I'm going to give it to people again, and people think I'm a genius. It's not creative, it's not, and I would be fine with it if it added something new that was even larger than the story it took from Spearhead from Space, or took Spearhead from Space and did it better. I don't agree. Some people think it's better than Spearhead from Space. I don't agree. I think it's just a step down from Spearhead from Space, and I said before, the ending I'm just not crazy about. It's not as well thought out as it could have been. But it's because, again, it's a watered-down version of a pre-existing story. I see why people love it. I see why you got into Doctor Who. But because it's not the story that got me into Doctor Who, I look at it as I look at every other story. And when I do that, and I compare it to the story it clearly came from, it's not on the same level as the story it came from. That's why it's just so low. Then we have, as number 31, from, this might shock some people, from Series 9 of New Who, The Magician's Apprentice, The Witch's Familiar. If you saw my top 10 overrated stories, you saw why I'm not crazy about this story. Oh, dear Lord. This story, that beginning, again, the doctor on the tank playing the guitar, I can't get into that. I just can't. I love the idea of the 12th Doctor playing a guitar. I love that being a part of his incarnation, but I just don't like the way it was introduced. I was like, what the hell is this? And there's a large portion of the Magician's Apprentice and Which is Familiar that I just felt like it was padding the running time. It just was filler to build up to this monumental moment that's going to happen later. I also wasn't crazy about the look of it. It just felt very dour in some ways. But what I do love, though, the reason why it's not so far lower is because I love the idea of the Doctor when meeting Child Davros in that interaction, and then him meeting Davros at the very end. So I love certain elements of it. I do, but there's the other elements I'm not crazy about that will always kind of hold it back for me, and that's just where it goes. Again, I know it's just shocking to those people who do love it. There are parts of it I do like, but there are other parts of it I'm just not that crazy about. So that's where it goes with me. Okay? But I do like, Peter Capaldi's Doctor in many other respects. I do. It's just not really right here. Okay. Now you have number 30, The Leisure Hive. Okay, with The Leisure Hive, this is one of the stories where it's not particularly terrible, it's just not great either, it's just kind of there. That's it. That's all I'm going to say is, it's a story that's just kind of there. There we go. Now, number 29. Oh, this is going to shock people because it's just so high. From the 7th Doctor's first season, Time and the Rani. Shocker! I do not hate this episode. I see why people do love this episode, but here are the reasons why I do not hate this episode. 1, fantastic pacing. This is like a story that has action almost from start to finish. Like, and you never go more than a few seconds without the pacing just keep going and going and going, and the momentum of the story keeps finding you. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I gotta give credit to that. It never feels like it's dragging. It doesn't to me. Time and the Rani it just goes and goes and goes. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Even though the Rani, I don't like her as much as I did like her in Mark of the Rani, I don't hate her either. She's perfectly enjoyable. And I'm okay with her plan. It's a very large and epic, scheme she has in this one, as it is with Mark of the Rani, and it adds a nice weight to everything that's happening. I love the design of the aliens, the ones who help the Doctor and Mel. I love their design. I think they look very good. And again, the pacing is just wonderful. It's just very action-packed, and I gotta give credit to that. That being said, I understand why people can't stand this episode, but also what I like about it is, and this is something that I think is completely not true, people, when it comes to the 13th Doctor, Series 11, people oftentimes defend Series 11 by going back to this first season of the 7th Doctor's era and talk about how Sylvester McCoy, well, look at all the time he needed to develop his Doctor. He was not at top form in his first season. Yes, he was. Whether you like his first season or not, Sylvester McCoy gave a solid, very definite performance as his Doctor, and it was very distinct unto him. I didn't feel like I was watching a copied performance of previous Doctors. I felt like Sylvester McCoy definitely gave you a decisive and strong acting choices that were unique unto his Doctor. Whether you like his first season or not, don't go accusing him of something that never actually happened. He definitely gave a very certain and very well-constructed take on his Doctor, and I'm sticking to it. That's where I go. Next we have up as number 28, Asylum of the Daleks. So the first episode of the Series 7. Okay. This was a hard one for me because this is the very first Dalek story I ever saw. I did not know what Daleks were yet, so I could not understand the gravitas and the weight of the Doctor being captured by these creatures. Over time, I began to know what the Daleks were. It's like, oh, that's why this is just so pressing. Now, when it comes to him being captured by the Daleks, I was very amazed by it. I love the look of Skaro when they did go there. And I personally, though strange with me, I know, loved the Clara, with Clara being converted by a Dalek, and then he finds out at the very end she is a Dalek. And the Doctor, he was like sensing something was wrong this entire time, but they couldn't really pinpoint it, and then he could at the very end when he saw her. It's like, why can't I ever see you? It's because she's a Dalek. And she had the Daleks forget the Doctor, and they're all shouting at the end, Doctor Who? Doctor Who? What a cool concept. But I see why those people are annoyed with the pond divorce, subplot. It doesn't kill the episode for me, but also the problem is with the Dalek Asylum is I see why people are like, well, the Dalek Asylum makes no sense. Why would the Daleks have an asylum? I see why you have that problem. I do. That's why it's so low, because I see why you think that's really absurd and ludicrous. And you have a legitimate point. And that concludes part 1 of this set of videos. I'll see you again with part 2 very soon. We'll do this very soon again, guys. Yes, we shall. Bye, guys.